Hello friends, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today's video we are going to talk about SQL Server's offering on Azure Cloud. There are so many organizations who are actually invested into SQL Server, or primarily Microsoft stack, and they are running SQL Server workloads on VMs primarily on premises, and who are looking to move their SQL Server workloads on Azure. They would have the following choices. Primarily, the three choices which they have is, one is the SQL Server on Azure VM. This is typically one of the very closest choice which organizations would tend to move, because normally the SQL servers on premises are running on primarily VMs or dedicated servers, so they could utilize the similar kind of an environment on Azure VMs also. So that's one of the options which they can go in for. The second is the Azure SQL Databse. Now, Azure SQL Databse is primarily a serverless offering. It's more optimized for organizations who are not ready to spend too much money and investment in terms of getting a machine, loading up SQL Server, spending licenses on SQL Server. So it's more likely they are interested to get a managed service, or we call it as a PaaS service. So that's where this SQL database would actually help. This is very much versionless. People could easily move on to this. They could try it out. Spinning up Azure SQL database on Azure is just like few minutes and few clicks. And the third offering which people can go, or the organizations can have, that is also known as Azure SQL Managed Instance. Now, this is typically, I would say, a combination of the first two options which we discussed, the SQL Server on Azure VM as well as the Azure SQL Database. So somehow I would say Azure SQL Managed Instance is a hybrid environment where you get the options of like typically running a managed instance rather than a managed database, I would say. And then you could spin up certain databases in the form of a PaaS service. You could have a single database, a single instance. You could have a elastic instance also. So those are all the offerings out there. In very simple terms, if we want to kind of delve into more details about these let's go one by one about these three offerings. So the first one we will talk about is Azure SQL Server on Azure VM, which is primarily a lift and shift. That's why people call it as a lift and shift, because it's kind of a system which you want to run from your on-premises, get that workload onto the cloud, and run it on Azure in the form of a VM. So in this particular category, we have many deployment choices like custom images for the VM or pre-built VM images. We can create our own VM images and then kind of load onto Azure and can spin those VMs out there. It's purely lift and shift with Azure Migrate as one of the tools or one of the options you could use. Addition and license flexibility is there. In fact, Microsoft provides you much features like bring in your own license or something like that, where the hybrid licensing model can give you a flexibility for running SQL Server on Azure VM. And the VMs which are there, they are heavily categorized into memory or storage optimized choices we would have. If you are running very much memory oriented SQL Server applications, you could choose the images which are best suited for your requirements. And of course, the SQL Server on Azure VM can integrate with many Azure services. We have virtual networks to integrate with on-premises network also. This is one of the important features where enterprises would definitely tend to look and go aligned with this particular feature, because virtual networks help you to manage your own networks, create an integration between Azure, your own Azure branching, and as well as your premises, which can establish a network connectivity in terms of express routes or whatnot. And Azure VM built in HA, which is also known as high availability. This is automatically available to you. Azure storage built-in disaster recovery is available to you. And Azure backups and automated backups to Azure Blob Storage. So you could use Azure backups, or you could set up your own automated backups to Azure Blob Storage. And you would have a full control over the deployment. It means you are going to manage the server, you're going to manage the operating system, you're going to manage the whole of the stuff. Like for example, updating the new security patches or whatnot. That's totally under your control, and that's why it is more likely categorized as a infrastructure as a service model. And it's best for the organizations who are moving their existing workloads to cloud. So easy, best one, more suited to all those enterprises. The second one option which we have is the Azure SQL Database, which is a PaaS offering, that is a platform as a service model. And the Azure SQL Database comes in this PaaS model, and this provides one of the business continuities as one of the things: serverless and fully managed service, built-in high availability, automated backups, long-term backup retention. So that's one of the other things. You could of course have the capabilities to change those settings, but there's a long-term retention policy for backups. And then geo-replication. Of course, the data is geo-replicated to the other regions also, so that is more likely for the high availability, as well as you could use those geo-replications for as a read-only databases also, which helps you to offload your reporting queries or reporting databases. And scalability is another option. Because it is purely a managed service, so let's say you start off with one instance and you want to move on to another instance based upon your requirements or anything, you could set up those scalable options as a part of this service. And it's a versionless, so, and very much compatible with the older as well as the new one. So technically you get all the new versions as a part of the releases, so you don't have to worry about which version you are running. And it has a built-in monitoring and intelligence feature. And I would say it is best for startups or applications which are multi-tenant and SaaS-based applications. That's where the developers can concentrate more on this one rather than setting up those infrastructures or whatnot. Even the organization doesn't need to, I would say, spend less on the CapEx one, that is the capital expenditure, and use this as for POCs or even for startups who are just using to demonstrate their product to the potential venture capitalist. And the last one, which is an Azure SQL managed instance, this we know it is more likely a hybrid kind of a model which Microsoft provides in terms of Azure SQL Database as well as a SQL Server on an Azure VM. Business continuity is definitely there, built-in high availability, automated backups, scalability. It is compatible with old versions of SQL Server also. For example, at a given point of time, it was compatible with Microsoft SQL Server 2008. It includes the VNet feature. This is one of the most important things out within Azure SQL Managed Instances, the SQL Server agent capabilities. So if you have worked with SQL Server, you might have seen SQL Server agent as one of a service which runs where you can host up jobs, do automated backups and whatnot. So if you are requiring a particular SQL Server agent capabilities to individualize your services and whatnot, this is probably the best choice to run SQL Server on Azure. And of course, it's a kind of a full control as an instance and also gives you the flexibility of serverless features out there. And I would say it's best for organizations who want to mimic SQL Server on-premise on a PaaS service also. So that's where the model would come around. So I hope, guys, if you are trying to look forward for SQL Server on Azure, these are the 3 different services which you are going to run. Let me know in comments which one you guys have used or which organization you're working, what kind of a service offering they are using, and how do you find these service offerings based upon your experience. If you have not already subscribed to my channel, please do subscribe it. I'll be coming back with more videos. Stay tuned. Have a good one. Thank you.